Listen to me. If there was a wise man who would ever think of this, they would say in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. For I am the man himself.
Hello all, how y'all doing guys tonight? And I know it's very, very late in the week for this, but we are here doing it live. This is the Club of the Man 1993, and this is my live review of this past week's episode of Monday Night Raw. I did promise you guys earlier in the week I would go live this week, although there have been several times I probably could have recorded this to at least, got it recorded, because up until really just a couple nights ago, I had nothing prepared for these streams. Again, just another busy week. It's the holidays. Happy Easter to all of you. Just in between Easter plans. So I thought I'd try getting caught up a little bit tonight, doing both my Raw and SmackDown reviews. As, definitely I would like to do Raw live. SmackDown, I will do it live, but if I had to pick one that I definitely would prefer to go live for, is this one's. And I wanted to make sure I went live this week, because this is going to be the last live review for Raw and SmackDown until after WrestleMania. As next week, with being a pay-per-view, I am just going to do my preview and predictions for WrestleMania 40. And also, there will be a review at some point next week also on the Bray Wyatt documentary that does come out. So next week, we'll have one of those shorts where what's it called? Where I kind of give an agenda of the week. It's going to be like a special week for something different. So I'm going to get all that there. This is also going to be the last live stream with these current graphics. As, of course, I've been saying that I put basically everything else on hold for the channel to try to get these graphics done. Now, it looks like I'm almost done with the channel intro. The outro is going to be very, very fast. I basically just got to take a piece from the intro. And, of course, I'll have a video where I share all those new graphics and whatnot as well. And, of course, the new intro will first be played for the for my WrestleMania review, which we'll review both nights in one stream. So that will also be where I first reveal the new intro. You will kind of get a taste of some of the new graphics of my WrestleMania preview, because those will be kind of the new setup I'm looking to do for those graphics. But the current intro and outro will still exist. But yeah, I basically been focusing my time on trying to get those done. But I did want to, of course, get these streams caught up with. So again, we're going to hopefully do both of them tonight. I am going to take a break after this one, though, for a few minutes, because my wife gave me a Nintendo Switch card, and I want to go and download Season 3 Pass for AEW Fight Forever and play a match as Swerve Strickland. But anyways, we're going to talk about this week's episode of Raw. Overall, I thought this was a really great episode of Raw. I thought we had, two big, moments of the year, basically, with the stuff with Cody Rhodes and The Rock. And, of course, we did have the first appearance of CM Punk since the Raw after the Royal Rumble when he got hurt. Well, also, because he was on the panel for the WrestleMania press conference as well. But he made an appearance as the show was live in Chicago, his hometown. So we had that in there as well. We also had a nice segment with Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley. We had just a couple little other odds and ends here and there that were some very good progressions. Had a very great match between Ricochet and JD McDonough, and a couple other things as well. So overall, I thought Raw was really, really good. Again, those two like big things with Cody Rhodes and The Rock, and the stuff with CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and Drew McIntyre, to me, all kind of pushed this as one of my favorite Raws, definitely, of the year so far, I would say. It definitely felt like a WrestleMania, and I definitely could not, on WrestleMania Raw, and I definitely could not pass up on doing this one live, at least. Like, SmackDown, I could have gone without doing live, but I'm still going to do that one live as well. So let's get rolling, let's get started. First, we got Tyler in the live chat saying, why is The Rock being more of a treat to Cody, more of a threat to Cody than Roman? Again, it has definitely felt like that because a lot of people, and I agree, that face-to-face confrontation with Roman Reigns and The Rock, with Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes, not this past Friday's episode of SmackDown, but the week before, it was pretty weak. And just the fact that, like, he kind of in for a little bit this week when Cody mentioned that he hates Roman Reigns and this, and that. Like, that's stuff he should have been saying in that episode of Raw. SmackDown. Instead, Cody Rhodes goes to shake his hand, which made absolutely no sense whatsoever. But yeah, I do agree that, honestly, again, like I even said this from the get-go, back when Cody won the Rumble, they have to do something different. They can't be the same exact build as last year. And honestly, if it hasn't been for what The Rock has been doing, if it wasn't for that, we would kind of be in the same boat as last year. Like the same exact story, except this time Cody will hopefully win. And this year he better win, or because last year I can forgive them. Because again, Cody, I think if Cody did not get hurt with a torn pec, we would have been fine. But instead, because of that, it looked like they were just handing it to him, basically. So, yes, they're making him go through a little bit of hoops with The Rock. But, again, though, if you take The Rock out of the equation, you're right. Because it's kind of like, it's like a football team when they have a really good quarterback. But then, like, for example, the one year when Peyton Manning got injured, and again, I'm not a football fan, but I just remember things. Peyton Manning got injured. He was out for the whole year, and the Colts sucked. With Peyton, though, they were unstoppable. So that's, I hate to say this, but that's what it kind of feels like with The Rock and with The Rock and Cody Rhodes. Like, I'm more excited, and I even thought this too. I'm more excited for the tag match than I am for the main event of night 2. The main event of night 2 feels like the match isn't going to matter. We've already seen a great match with Roman and Cody from last year. But it's going to be more so just about the story. About the moment of Cody finally being the one to dethrone Roman Reigns. Which, again, it better happen this year. It better happen this year. It needs to happen. Because, like, honestly, again, if it doesn't happen at WrestleMania, I'm just not going to care anymore. Like, sometimes they build you to that. Like, they did the same thing with Sami Zayn and Adrian Neville. They did the same thing with Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page. They build it to a moment where it's like, the momentum's still there. You're still on fire, but you also feel like, well, if they don't do it now, though, then it's going to hurt it in the long run. That's, again, I think, where we've gotten to with Cody Rhodes. And I do think that had The Rock not got involved in the storyline, we would not have been as productive of a story. But, of course, that's my little thing on that. He also said Jade should not be in a WrestleMania match. Just a tag match. I'm not worried about it at all. He also says, come back, Charlotte. Probably not till later this year, buddy. I'm sorry. But we are going to get rolling. We are going to start talking about Raw. Because, again, we have SmackDown, but I do want to play one or two matches with Swerve Strickland on Fight Forever. So I will do this review, again, take the break, and then most likely do SmackDown as well. And then finish graphics. Anyway, so the show opened up with Cody Rhodes coming out. Usual intro, Chicago, what do you want to talk about? He says he couldn't say nothing. We're in that final awkward 2 weeks for Mania where the time for talk is over and the wagon is in the barn. Last week on SmackDown, or even before SmackDown, in his media rounds, Roman Reigns said a lot. On the Pat McAfee show, and Cody leads cheers for both Pat McAfee and Michael Cole commentary, but Cody makes a big show of saying Roman's name and letting the boos ring out before saying that Roman said he's making promises he can't keep. And that got under Cody's skin. Because, of course, he said that also on SmackDown the previous Friday. But Chicago should know better than anyone that when he makes a promise, when he places a bet, he keeps it 100%. He talks about some guy who held a sign up asking for Cody to be his best man and talks about how hard it was to tell his wife about, but he's doing it. He talks about a little boy he's paying to WrestleMania, about the wrestling club, and says he does this and asks for nothing in return, and that's lost on Roman Reigns. Roman thinks it's desperation, but it's not. He dresses how he dresses, walks the white way he walks, talks the way he talks, and pretends to be the champion because the champ isn't here. Tells Roman to understand that he respects him, but he also hates his guts. And he understands if he hates him back. It's his fault. Roman and his cousins can't have a wank fest at WrestleMania. Referring to him and Roman and The Rock. And it's his fault. Because he won the Royal Rumble not once, but twice. When you win the Rumble, you point at the sign. And when he learned from when we pointed at the sign last year, he can't do this alone. He asked for nothing back, but now he's asking for something. On April 6th, he goes into the biggest tag match in the history of WWE. Him and Seth Rollins against Roman Reigns and The Rock. Will we ride with him? And on April 7th, it was hopefully a fair fight against Roman Reigns. Will we fight with him? Chicago, though, with a 15,000 people sellout, which was probably one of the largest audiences in Raw in recent memory. Cody points to the sign, and everyone points with him. But then, if you smell, out comes The Rock. And the thing, though, was why this was big, The Rock was advertised for next week's Raw. He was not, however, advertised for this week's Raw. So he comes out, comes to the ring, and squares up with Cody. And it's just dead silent. Well, the crowd is going hot. Cody and Rock just stare at each other down. The Rock then puts his hands behind his back, whispers something in Cody's ear, and then he leaves. What that was, we do not know. Because when Jackie Redmond tried to ask The Rock said, "Go ask Cody Rhodes." Later, though, when Jackie asked Cody, he basically says that, where did I see that? What did he say? Come on. It was something, oh yeah, there it is. He basically just said that, he can't say it, basically. Something that's that's basically something that's not able to be handled or whatever. I can't remember the exact words he said it. So we're in suspense. Could that have been something with, either I want to get you, or, again, could that be because we all think that this could be The Rock secretly working with Cody which, especially if you saw that ending, will be crazy to see Cody basically sacrifice a ton to basically have him and The Rock play mind games with Roman Reigns. So, it is, in fact, interesting to know what he said, but of course, that wasn't the last we saw of Dwayne. Remember? You and your buddy Dwayne, as Punk would say about him. But yeah. So what he said, we'll have to find out. Anyways, the Judgment Day are chilling in their clubhouse, and Rhea is finishing up a chat with Dominik Mysterio about communication. Because Dominik went to SmackDown last week and basically helped Santos Escobar beat his father in a tag match. Priest then tells JD to take care of Ricochet, and Finn berates him about how he's sick and tired of seeing JD and Dom made fools of. But Damian backs him off. JD says he'll take care of it, and then Dom says he'll have his back. We then have a match with Ricochet and JD McDonough, and I thought this was a really, really good match. You see, here's the thing. If JD McDonough is going to be the guy that's going to be eating pins for now, at least give him, like, matches like this, where I feel like him and Ricochet had excellent chemistry. A lot of people are comparing this to, like a Lucha Underground type match that Prince Puma, which Ricochet was Lucha Underground, would have. It felt like they were taking the cuffs off of Ricochet somewhat. Some great counters. Ricochet hit an avalanche, poisoned Frankensteiner, and followed it with a recoil until Dominik put his foot on the ropes. And then the finish, Ricochet hit a shooting star press on JD McDonough while he was standing up, which was freaking awesome. But yeah, JD McDonough, I've always thought he was a great wrestler. I don't like the fact that he's basically become the Judgment Day's personal punching bag. But, like I said, if you give him losses like this, where he looked absolutely spectacular, it's going to build to, like, the sympathy later where it's like, okay, it's like, you know this guy can do it, but they're waiting for them to see the moment. Because they're starting to form some cracks again with Judgment Day. We'll talk about it, of course, when we get to the SmackDown review later on. But yes, but Ricochet does win. I'm interested to see how Ricochet, though, will be booked after WrestleMania. I'm hoping he's, like, kind of on the horizon to kind of be, like, the next guy to start getting, like, booked a little more seriously. But we'll see where it goes. Because, again, if this felt like a match where the cops were starting to be taken off of him. So, that was great there. We then have CM Punk coming out. Again, this is the first time he's appeared on TV. Of course, for weekly television, Raw or whatnot, since he came out to announce that he was injured after the Rumble, and also whenever he was at the WrestleMania press conference. He comes out and says he's got a lot to say and a lot of business to get to, but it's good to be alive in Chicago on a Monday night. And everyone asks Punk if he's going to be at WrestleMania. And yes, he will be. How's his elbow doing? Not great, and it's not 100%. He's not medically cleared, but his mouth still works. Not only are people asking what he's going to do, but do they have suggestions? Is he going to host WrestleMania? Which is what I thought they would have him do. A host hasn't been announced yet for Mania. I figured maybe we would do him, but again, has not been announced. He said that 10 years ago he would have said that was beneath him, but now he wishes Mania was in Chicago. People say he's great in the ring and on the mic and even at commentary. But also, why not be a special guest referee? Is there a title match that needs the most impartial referee? I mean, there kind of is. kind of two guys who definitely have beef with Punk, and someone who thinks he keeps getting held back. So, maybe. But not only do people ask him questions, they talk about him. He calls out Pat McAfee and talks how Roman Reigns made an appearance on his show, and he said he'll see him soon. Another guy who talks about him is Seth Rollins. They go way back, and they don't see eye to eye, and it's probably because Seth wears high heels now. Ooh, the first of many zingers in this very fun segment. Punk doesn't take kindly to him laughing at him getting a busted arm. But someone who hasn't said a word about Punk, though, is The Rock. You like to think that's because 10 years ago, he remembers coming face to face with the Second City Saint and realizing his arms are just too short to box with God. And then there's Drew McIntyre, who hasn't said a word on the internet because he handles his business live and in living color. Face to face in Chicago, like a man. Here comes Drew McIntyre. And Punk immediately saying, cut the music, and tells Drew, get your bitch ass to the ring. Drew, though, paces on the stage and gets on the mic saying he'd love to beat his ass, but doesn't he remember what happened last time they were in the ring together? He stomped his arm because he deserved it. And Punk asks if he's a Scot in a kilt or an internet troll in a skirt. Drew tells him he could be canceled for talking like that, and this is divine intervention. Drew then talks about his t-shirt, about how, the checklist on the back of calling himself the savior of WrestleMania, and on top is the top is check mark saying injure CM Punk, and then Punk says, I ain't ever had to put another man's name on my shirt to sell it. Drew is like, okay, that's fine. So he rips off the shirt, and then underneath his shirt is the one of him in front of the grave. And Drew says the straight edge says that how Punk is straight edge, and that's so ironic because Punk doesn't do drugs or drink, but he spends all his time in rehab. Ooh, referring to his injuries. And then, okay, we're not at the big one yet, my favorite one. We're not there yet, but he also says he can see Punk doesn't like him, but he doesn't hate him. No. Punk completes him. When he's in the gym and can't get that last rep, he thinks about Punk, and the weight goes up. Elimination Chamber, he had a bursted eardrum. He thought about Punk and got the job done. He's his muse. And Punk says he can't hear him and tells him to come in the ring and speak into his good ear. But Drew's not having it. Says, Punk, want to take him out before WrestleMania? Punk lays down in the ring in an obvious show of good faith, but Drew takes a seat at the announce desk and says he wants Punk to have a front row seat at Mania so he can understand that Drew McIntyre has always been the chosen one. And here is everyone's favorite part. Punk said, what paragon of good virtue chose him? He basically was trying to get Drew McIntyre to say Vince McMahon, because that's the one who dubbed him the chosen one his first run in WWE. But of course he can't say it. But Punk was trying to go to him in. I'm cracking up. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're pushing it here. And then he says that you would tell if the crowd wasn't chanting CM Punk, CM Punk. And then McIntyre tells him to get it out while he can, and he wants to have a front row seat and be on commentary for his match so he can see Drew finally have his moment and raise the title in front of his fans in a stadium. Then out comes Seth Rollins, who gets in the ring. Punk drops to his knees in anguish, and slaps the microphone against his forehead a few times because he just can't catch a break here. Seth gets in Punk's face and says this is his show, and he calls him and Drew both children. Punk tells him it can be his show, but this is his city. Seth says if they're done trolling each other, maybe we can get to business. If they haven't had one brain cell between them, they know that you don't get to make decisions about world title matches when you're not in it. But he'll put it to the crowd. Do they want CM Punk on commentary? And he gets a good response. But then the chant for a special guest referee breaks out. And then Seth says, well, his counting arm, though, is hurt. But then Punk drops to the mat and counts with his good arm. And admits he can't be objective with these two dipshits. Which also, I've got to say, I also thought was funny. When Punk came out to do his entrance, and when he got down on his knees, and he, pretends to check his wrist for the time, for saying it's clobbering time. Normally, he checks his right wrist. And lately, when he's come out since come back to WWE, he has been wearing an actual watch. But this time, he checked his wrist, but then on his bad arm and realized, oh, my watch is over here now on his good arm. I thought that was hilarious as well. But anyways, Seth then asks if Punk wants to know what he thinks. And Punk says no, but Seth says, too bad. He doesn't think about Punk at all. He doesn't care about what Punk does at Mania, as long as he stays out of his way. And Punk says it's decided. He'll do a little commentary at WrestleMania. And he'll do something that Drew, with the lifts in his boots and the dye in his beard, and Rollins will sell his bell bottoms and his championship, and his wife could never do, and that's make them both interesting. Ooh, another zinger there, of course. And then, of course, Punk's music hits, but then McIntyre's like, nah, you don't get to finish this. He then yells at Punk for obsessing over him, and calls him a stan, but Rollins drops Drew, though, with a super kick, and then hits the curb stomp. I love that. And again, Punk getting involved does make this match more spicier. Not because, of course, of the beat the two of them have each other, but this whole idea where Drew's claiming Seth has a distraction, wanting to help out Cody Rhodes with the Bloodline. Well, now we got Drew McIntyre having his own distraction himself. And basically, it's like, okay, now whose eye is really on the prize? I love this. Again, I love, again, that first off, it adds a little more intrigue to the WrestleMania match. But it also, again, it was just overall fun. Like, the ad-libs, the whole, firing the shots. The stuff, again, though, with the Chosen One and basically trying to goad Punk's trying to goad McIntyre into saying Vince McMahon when obviously he cannot. I thought, again, that was absolutely hilarious. That easily my favorite part. For sure, an early segment of the year, I would say, as well. But I loved it. So, we had that, and it said Punk will be on commentary, so he will be involved in some way at WrestleMania. Cool. Candice LeRae then, well, first we have Shinsuke Nakamura cutting a promo about his main event match with Jey Uso, how it's unfair that Jey gets his dream match at WrestleMania against his brother, but tonight he'll turn his dream into a nightmare. Candice LeRae took on Ivy Nile. This week, the Dark Fairy Godmother, or whatever you want to call it, the Poison Pixie, decided to fake an injury trying to do a favor, trying to get Indy Hartwell to basically embrace that dark side. And hoping that Hartwell could attack Ivy. But Indy's not doing it. So finally, Candice said, screw it. And she basically, as Ivy's distracted, thinking that Indy's going to do something to her, Candice then pulls off the pinfall victory with a roll-up. So, yeah, Candice is not actually doing actual wrestling. She's just pulling off some tactics. playing mind games, being the poison pixie. I love what they're doing with her. I really think this is a character. She needed a character. And hey, if this is the route she's going to go, then I'm cool with it. Like, this is a Candice I can believably see winning a championship. And I think at some point down the line, they'll probably give her an indie the tag titles, at least. If not, at some point, I think with this character, she will make a good women's champion someday. Heck, I keep predicting, well, unless it were to a draft and things change around, have like Liv Morgan be the one to dethrone Rhea Ripley. At some point, you can have Candice LeRae win the title. Heck, what about this? I could see, I'll go this far. I think this Candice LeRae could also be Miss Money in the Bank. I think so too. Again, the character's still new. It's still developing. It's still fresh, but it's simple, but it works very well. I love it. Speaking of Candice, backstage we have Mr. Gargano, who's still on the good side right now. Please keep him there. DIY and New Day are basically talking smack to each other because they have a match later on next, and they're making fun of how their names are mostly good-natured, and the Awesome Truth rolled up enthusiastic about the match with New Day versus DX, and R-Truth says they're going to be on commentary tonight. So they're going on commentary to watch New Day versus Regeneration X. Before that match, we did have a promo with Jey Uso talking about how special it is for Yokozuna to main event WrestleMania. Also, of course, he mentions about fighting his brother as well. DIY took on New Day. Again, match was fine, but it didn't really go on too long because afterwards, Judgment Day come in and they lay out the attack. Obviously, wanting the weakening as much of their opponents as possible since they have the six tag team ladder match at WrestleMania. But then, of course, Awesome Truth joins in, and then, of course, the Judgment Day do dominate and stand tall. So, cool on that part, I would say. I just still wish I'm still just a little salty the New Day's in this match. That's the only complaint I have. Why isn't Imperium in it? I hate how Imperium won the feud. Then they had this random match with Judgment Day on Raw and lose. And now New Day's back in. Like, shouldn't Imperium have gotten the shot to get into the match since they won the feud? Just saying. Like, they put on the freaking Match of the Year candidate with that street fight. And then, now we got Giovanni Vinci. Well, later in the show, Giovanni Vinci took on Andrade, and because it was supposed to be Andrade and Ivar, but apparently Ivar was not medically cleared. So instead, they replaced him with Giovanni Vinci, and Vinci did show have a couple good spots, but it was a match that was meant to get Andrade another pinfall victory. So, but I don't like that. I don't like that New Day got into that match. Speaking of which, Gunther's backstage being interviewed. He said after sitting on it for a week, he doesn't have much to answer because Sami Zayn's words were empty and he doesn't believe he can win. There are thousands of nerds in the crowd tonight, just like Sami, and none of them believe he can beat him. In fact, he doesn't think Sami can even beat Bronson Reed later on in the show. Then this one we had Andrade beating Giovanni Vinci. Again, they had some good moments in the match. Giovanni got a few things to shine, but of course, that's here and there. It was to put over Andrade. I think it's clear Andrade's a face right now, but again, I think I want to wait and see what direction he does go with this storyline with him and the Judgment Day. So I'm going to hold off on that for a second and see where it goes, especially because you never know. He could possibly maybe get involved with what's going on with Rey and Santos, maybe, but they're both on SmackDown. I don't. The weird thing is like Andrade and a few other people are just getting drafted to certain brands, signed to certain brands. But are they going to have a draft after WrestleMania where some things get shaken up a bit or whatnot? It'd be weird for have them to just sign now and then switch immediately after that. So I'm not sure where in fact it's going, but we'll see. But I'm going to wait till after the direction he goes with Judgment Day to determine if he in fact is a face now or not. He's definitely meant to be a heel, but he's putting on phenomenal performances, of course, either way. Anyways, Rhea Ripley comes out with Dominik Mysterio. She says she feels like a certain someone isn't giving her their full attention. Because Becky Lynch keeps fighting week after week. She then tries to get Dom into calling her out. But before he can go with it, out comes Becky. Which congratulations also Becky Lynch's book did in fact get released. Maybe someday I'll try to grab a copy of it and read it. Because again, the last book I actually read, because I'm not really a reader, but the last book I did read was Daniel Bryan's not documentary, biography. So I do think there's gonna be a chance that we could see me reading that as well. And if I do read it, maybe I will do a review on it, just like I did with the Daniel Bryan stuff, which was ages ago. My goodness, I gotta watch that again. Sorry, real distraction here. Just checking something real quick. Cool. Anyways, but anyway, so Becky comes out, says she's here with Rhea, fresh as a daisy. Unlike her, who has to wait until she has wrestled a 20-minute match to feel safe. But she couldn't do that anyway because Ripley doesn't wrestle on Raw anyway. Rhea asks why she'd want to compete before the biggest match of her career. Becky unloads on her and says there's always going to be someone newer, younger, and hotter, but the long game in this business is about skill and merit and survival and coming back from the muck when the chips are down, and you're not the chosen one anymore. And Rhea hasn't experienced that reality yet. Rhea admits that Becky is hard to kill, but not impossible. And she's not going to take that far because she wants Becky alive, on her couch, next to her daughter, so she can listen to her call Rhea Mommy, which obviously sets Becky off in anger. She says, I'll give you one pass, and if she ever mentions her daughter again, it'll be the last thing she ever says. And it's not funny because her father never got to meet her daughter. And she gets all emotional and says she knows the thing he'd be most proud of her is the woman she is becoming as a mother. It might be a joke, but it's not a joke to Becky, and neither is that title. She didn't attack her out of respect, but there's nothing respectful about her. She just knows that after throwing the first punch, there's no going back. After WrestleMania, neither of them will be the same again. They, of course, get in each other's faces, and Dominik backs Rhea off, and he turns to face Becky, but Becky snaps and just gives Dom this vicious, well-shot right hook right into his jaw. And it was like a clear-cut punch. Like I feel like it's like one of those punches you see like very close, very far up close. Because again, for those baseball fans, it made me think of the punch that Ruben Odor landed on Jose Batista. That's what it made me think of because of how effective it was. But Becky drops Dom the right hook, and then Rhea and Becky start brawling. It was basically a pull-apart brawl, basically, which is always, fun to see. Adding a little bit more heat between them. Not more so like this is going to be a big match and then they just stare each other down. More so like, it gets personal and whatnot, as matches do need to have at some point. So that was good, I thought. Then we get Sami Zayn getting ready for his match with Bronson Reed. And he runs into Chad Gable. Wants to talk to him about what happened last week. And Sami says there's nothing to talk about. It's fine. What was in his heart, and that's okay. Tonight, though, about making Gunther eat his words, but Gable tells him, focus on the task at hand and get his head out of his ass. Sami says he's right and he knows what he has to do. And he appreciates Gable saying it. Before Sami took on Bronson Reed, and he lost to him clean. Which I found interesting that they actually had that happen, but then again, it's like, the story they're basically trying to tell here is that no one actually believes Sami can beat Gunther. Like, they're really trying to play into that underdog storyline again for Sami. Which, again, that's where Sami shines. Again, the problem that still stands is this still should have been Chad Gable's match. And Chad Gable's still involved. But to me, it feels like, the way they're booking this, it feels like Chad Gable is dealing with an ex-girlfriend, trying to help them, do the task that he what once wanted to do, but can't. And it's like he's still trying to be best friends with the ex-girl. It has that vibe to it. It's weird. Again, though, my thing, though, is the reason why at this point I'm okay with it not being Gable is because I know for a fact that this was not the original plan. Again, Sami Zayn was supposed to face Drew McIntyre originally at WrestleMania until Punk got hurt. And again, Gunther was supposed to face Brock Lesnar. And I'm pretty sure they would not have had Gunther drop the Intercontinental title to Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar is way above the Intercontinental Championship at this point. I don't think they'll ever put a mid-card title back on him. Having me in a mid-card match is pretty big to put someone over, of course, in as well. But either way, I don't think the plan ever was for Gunther to win, to drop the title at Mania. I mean, it would have been nice for to drop it to Gable. And I'm not saying he can't drop it to Sami. This just still feels like it was supposed to be Gable's moment and not Sami's. But I still also know that the plan was never for Gable to have a match. I mean, maybe he would have if Punk didn't get hurt. And because I still think the plan long term was for Sami and Drew, based off of the beat they had, and Drew was the one who wrote Sami off TV for like a month or two. So I can kind of forgive this, but again, it just feels awkward, this storyline with Chad Gable still being involved in this Intercontinental scene. Like, it feels weird. But I think eventually he will be the one to dethrone Gunther, and he should be. Very well should be. Anyways, so after that match, Jey Uso took on Shinsuke Nakamura. Jey Uso won. No one really cared about the match, but what happened after the match. Because towards the end of the match, Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa run in. And of course, before the match, they saw him backstage and basically just gave them like a word that, they're here. And then Seth rolls up and says something that doesn't feel right. But he says that him and Cody have his back and to go get the W. Jay does win it after hitting a spear on Shinsuke. But then, of course, after the match is over, we cut backstage where Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins were continuing to fight backstage. Seth somehow disappeared, but Cody was beaten down on Jimmy. And then he tries to cut off Solo. But then, out of the blue, The Rock blasts Cody from behind. And from there on, it was all Rock beating Cody down. He bounced him off of tables. He slammed trash cans in his face. He threw him against the wall many times, bounced him off everything, threw him in the row cases, dumped a toolbox out on him. And then he takes it outside. And saying, we were upset he didn't say anything. Well, he's got our attention now, doesn't he? He tears open Cody's shirt, and he keeps yelling at him, fighting out into the rain, telling him he's the final boss, and bending him over a retaining wall, overlooking a sheer drop before bouncing him off a truck several times. Which, of course, some people said in the background there was a truck that had both John Cena and Stone Cold Steve Austin on it. Wondering if that's a foreshadow that they're going to get involved at WrestleMania as well sometime. But anyways, he demands we look at our hero. The Rock tells me you look at our hero, Cody Rhodes. It tells Mama Rhodes to look at him because he's got a special gift for her. And he bounces Cody off the truck again and kicks him in the hamstring. He picks him back up and throws him into the truck one more time, saying again, he's the final boss, because at the end of the day, it didn't have to be like this, but it is now, because Cody stuck his nose in his business. The prophecy has come true, and the camera pans over to Cody wearing the crimson mask. The Rock punches him in the wound and takes a white belt, whatever it's called, and it says Mama Rose on it. And Cody, who's been busted open at this point, does exactly what he said he was going to do. Takes the belt, smears it in the blood of Cody's face, and puts it in his hands, and then onto the white leather of the belt. He pulls him up and says, Dusty talked about hard times. Well, this is hard times. This is a lesson about hard times. And one more time, he bounces Cody's face off the truck. Reminds us it didn't have to be this way before the camera pans down to Cody's bloody face one last time. I mean, there was cussing in there. There was also a bunch of craziness going on as well. Like, it was definitely an Attitude Era caliber segment. And I thought it was great. And again, yes, it's the WWE relying on something from the past. I don't care. I haven't seen this side of The Rock in my lifetime. Because I didn't watch wrestling back in 2002 and 2003 or whatnot. I wasn't. But I thought this was awesome. And again, I keep saying, I agree. The Rock has been a big difference maker in this story. He is the true, big target Cody has to take down. And like I said, I think at this point, I don't think you can. I don't know if it will involve Seth turning on Cody. Because I still think there is a chance that could happen. They are still playing the idea that Seth and Cody, for real, do not get along for real. But they agree to, take on a common enemy when one happens. But I still think, and again, it's tough for me to say, to decide. And I'm still undecided, and I'm going to try to be decided by the time of my predictions. I still think you can't have the Rock lose this tag match. I think Roman and The Rock, I still lean towards Roman and The Rock winning that tag match. The only reason why I'm still thinking that they shouldn't, though, is because the whole idea is that Cody Rhodes wants to take everything away from Roman Reigns. But yet, maybe Rock winning, solidifying that Roman can 100% trust The Rock, maybe that is the ticket to, Roman losing everything. Because I'm still kind of leaning more towards, I want to see it be Bloodline rules. But I just thought that ending segment was awesome. I thought, that The Rock showed up unannounced. And, of course, that beatdown. I've seen The Rock get, that brutal. We haven't seen him really throw much of a punch at all since he come back, except for when he slapped Cody at the WrestleMania press conference. But I loved it. I loved a lot of things about this show. I'm pumped for WrestleMania. And I think this was a great Raw to be the last Raw to review before WrestleMania. As I said in the intro. Again, next week, I still have my SmackDown review to do, which I'll do in a little bit. I'm going to take a brief break. But I will be doing probably do them both live. Well, definitely the previews will be live. But I think the other review I want to do before WrestleMania is the Bray Wyatt review for the Bray Wyatt from the documentary. I'll probably try to do that one live as well. Maybe. We'll see how much time I have next week. But yeah, next time we come live for Raw, there will be new graphics. The new intro will be done. Again, I almost have it done. I got maybe one more piece to kind of put to it. But these new graphics, they're gonna definitely be tweaked as time goes on. Again, I know I just did a new intro last year, but because I have After Effects and Photoshop, it is in fact because it's because I wanted to enhance my skills again. For video editing. So I definitely will be making some updates to them as time goes on, but I do look forward to you guys seeing those for sure. And but of course you get to see the SmackDown graphics one last time. And again, there will be I will not use the new intro for the WrestleMania preview. The first time you'll see me use it is for the WrestleMania review. But the graphics for the WrestleMania stream is going to basically be the new setup for the pay-per-view graphics that I use. But that was Raw. I gave it an A-. I probably would have gone with a B+, but I really love the stuff they did with The Rock and Cody. And I really like that segment with CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and Drew McIntyre as well. They did a lot of good on this episode of Raw. So I gave the show an A-. Tyler thinks this WrestleMania is going to suck. I don't agree. I think it's going to be awesome, but I hope it definitely proves you wrong, Tyler. If you want to set expectations low again, that's totally fine. Sometimes we found out setting the expectations low have actually helped for sure. But my booking for my biggest action figure show is better than most of this build, he thinks. Why is Sami losing for WrestleMania? Again, probably to build like the underdog feel and that doubt that he can't beat Gunther, which again, I still think he shouldn't be the one to beat Gunther, but Rock should be in the Hall of Fame, not in the ring anymore. We still have to be Rock and Roman, though. Why could Bianca got injured and not... Again, Tyler, I'm sorry, but that's not nice. It's not nice to wish someone else getting hurt. I'm sorry, that's not nice. I say Rock is a kid in the 2000s, and Jade sucked. She's an AEW mudlaw wrestler. Well, yeah, I know she's definitely, they're marketing the hell out of her for sure, which we will talk about her for sure when we get to the SmackDown review. I do agree that I know Triple H didn't want to put her on TV until she was ready. Obviously, though, she has the build, she has the look. I thought she looked pretty sharp in the ring whenever she's there. I do agree that they needed to do more to her character in AEW than just her having a winning streak like she had. But we'll talk about it in the SmackDown review. But with that being said, though, I am going to cut it here and go take a breather, and I'm going to go download Swerve Strickland onto AEW Fight Forever and do a match or two with him, and then I will come back here in a few minutes and review SmackDown. So, guys, A- for Raw this week. What are you guys' thoughts on this week's episode of Raw? You guys' thoughts down again down in the comments section below. And be sure also, as always, to slap a like on the video and subscribe for more content on my channel. Follow me on Twitter as well at the Club of the Man 93. And make sure you also follow me on TikTok and Instagram at the Club of the Man 1993. And until then, guys, I'm checking out. I'll catch you guys all later. Say goodbye to these old standard graphics right here. As next time we're live for Raw, or any Raw review, which I'm pretty sure will be live for the Raw After Mania, you will be seeing brand new graphics. Spice up a little bit. Nothing like too crazy yet. Like, I'm sure, as I get stronger with After Effects, we will be seeing even more improvement later on down the line. But, it's a start. But do not forget, guys, in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. And for I am the man himself. And that is not just an opinion, my friends. That is a fact of life. Yeah!